Howdy folks, figured I just came back from our ride. Need to actually wash the bike this morning, and I figured while it's still dirty I'd do a little tour of everything that I've got going on the bike. So hope you enjoy. If I can help with anything, feel free to let me know. I'm glad to share tips with all my fellow Spyder riders and owners and enthusiasts. So here we go. Okay, just sitting here on the bike and kind of looking at how things set. So while I have the 2018 F3T, so looking at this, I'm going to turn it on real quick. It's got a great display, but my usefulness for it was really and truly just keeping an eye on, miles per hour and RPMs and things like that as I was breaking it in. What I really wanted to do was take advantage of my phone, I think some of the native maps and Hey Siri and things like that, and music and whatnot. So I do have it paired, so that way I can control music here. So when it does turn on, it switches to the BRP Connect, where I can control my phone. Looking at the display, one of the few things that you may see, so we'll talk about the grips here, and then I've got my phone mount, so I can actually see more of my phone. This, I'll go through it in just a second. I added a few LED lights. They're split right in the middle, so there's one wire going back this way, and then another wire going back in that way. But what it does is, of course, I'll turn on the hazards here, but it tells me, when I'm sitting like this and riding backwards, it lets me know like if I have a blinker still on, and lets me see. I did add the additional mirrors. I know some folks are taking off this mirror here. What I ended up doing was adding, basically this is a a $3 mirror. It comes in a 2-pack, and what it allows me to do is actually quickly see. So as you can see, I'm holding the phone right where my helmet and view is. Normally I can see it like if something right up on me. So I took my panels, and what I ended up doing was doing a little toggle push button. Just drilled a hole, and I did a little toggle push button there. And a lot of people are talking about the garage door opener, and essentially I wanted to keep it as universal as possible. So over here is my underbody lights. If for some reason I needed to turn them off, sometimes law enforcement gets all uppity about lights and they ask questions, and so if ever you needed to just quickly turn any auxiliary lights off, I could by just flipping this switch here. And then lastly, I ordered the fog lights from Lamonster Garage, and there's a couple other parts I've ordered as well. But let's talk about the grips. Okay, so really and truly, when you are looking at the grips, which was the hardest thing because it doesn't seem like you could switch these out. And really and truly, as I got down to it, this one, your throttle side actually has to be cut. So if you're looking at kind of similar of what I have here, essentially this is the original piece that came with the bike. So you take this piece off, and what you're left with is just the rubber grip. And it's got some pretty gnarly glue all up and down it. So really this is what I had to do, is I ended up cutting down the line and then just start peeling it back little by little, which then left it pretty rigid. So I sanded down, or do what you can to kind of just get that rubber off once you get it cut off. So the patterns all go underneath. The actual throttle itself will spin, and of course the glue is adhered into those grooves. So as you're pulling it back, it's really difficult. You only have to do it on this side. On this other side, you can't see it anymore, but literally there was a screw here and here, torque screw, and you just take those off, and then the piece slides off, and that makes it back to the normal 7/8 pair. So this one's the smaller set, and this one's the little bit larger diameter. So you can then buy whatever whatever add-on grips you wanted to and just work them on. If you need to, I didn't have to use any glue. Some folks recommend it, glue at least on this side, because this one's not, you don't move this at all. But with the throttle, they said that you should put glue on it. Well, I didn't put any glue on mine, and it spins just fine. Once you do take this off, just be mindful of this. So if you're, whatever piece you decide to buy has like a rubbery end to it, what that'll do is it'll butt up against the end piece that comes with it. So what I ended up doing was cutting out, you can kind of see it if I get really in there. You see where I've cut that rubber to stop? It basically has the lip, and that's it, so that way there's no friction up against the actual end piece. But if you cut this one and then you unscrew this one, you absolutely can have new grips and change them out as often as you like. I did originally order the Kuryakin. Those are really beefy and they stick out probably to about there, which wasn't a bad look, but it was really thick for my hand. And at first I liked it, but then as I rode more with it, my hand it didn't feel good. So I kind of went back to something I could grip onto. And again, I've got cruise control with the F3T. Let's talk about the phone. So this is a multi-part. What I ended up getting, there was just, I want to say this is called like City Urban. I'll look up the link. Basically, it's just a bracket, and then it has a ball to the back. Let's see if I can get up underneath it. Just a standard ball. And that usually is like a GPS mount, or you can mount whatever. And then I'm a big fan of like ordering things for cheap on like Wish.com or ThinkGeek and stuff like that. And so this is I call it Slow Boat from China. And this is a waterproof phone case. And I know a lot of folks have like the X RAM mounts and things like that, which it'll do well, if you have your case and everything. So I'm not knocking that at all. But what I wanted to do was make sure that it was secured onto the bike, and it was just a matter of flip the lid. I put my phone in. Sorry for the blur, but I put my phone in. I've got BajaRon, and it's coming down up under. I tapped into the accessory wire, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I've got the BajaRon down there, and literally I can't take a picture of it in there because I'm using the phone, but I mean, you get the idea. You just lay it in here, plug it in, and then you kind of do it like Tupperware, right? You come in and seal. It has it where you could seal the bottom if you notch out the piece. I just didn't feel like doing that. And I wasn't too concerned because the rubber piece keeps water out. So once you kind of get your power going through there, you don't have to worry about water too much. And everything else is sealed off, right? It's rubber protection for every bit of the buttons. And then this is haptic, or I should say tactile. So you could actually touch this and it interfaces with the phone. This, like I said, is just a El Cheapo case. I think it was like 20 bucks from Wish.com. And then all I ended up doing was just attaching a universal, you can see where I put the plate on. You just super glue that to the back of it, so that way I could unscrew this and take this off if I needed to. So that's really it for the phone aspect. I did switch out to, as far as the brake pedal, normally it comes with the half one. I like riding with my foot kind of sitting here and then hovering off to the side. It just fits my natural ergonomics. So I'll get back on it and apologize for my my crusty foot here. But so when I'm riding, this feels more comfortable, so that way I can just, when I'm hitting my brake, I can kind of cover it like I would in a car. I guess you could set inward more, but then, my foot's, I don't know, maybe I have weird feet, but I sit like this when I'm riding, and that way it's a lot better when I have my shoe on because it lifts my foot to the right angle. I do have it on the 4th position. It normally came at the 3rd position. I bought the link bar. This is all you have to replace. If you want to change the positions, this is probably a $20 or $30 bar, well worth it. You can go one more further, I think is the 5th position. Or if you're shorter legs, or you like riding with your feet kind of closer to being underneath you straighter, you could do that too. And then that would lower the brake pedal quite a bit as well. One quick thing before I turn the bike on, which does get really loud, but this is why. It's because I did add the Two Brothers pipe and also the performance pipe as well. So we call that normally a cat delete or a muffler delete. But let me show you that. So relatively easy to install. What you do is normally when you get in the pipe, so this is, oh man, I'm a little too sore to be getting down here again. All right, so literally this pipe is what you buy, and what normally sits here is the big pan, the muffler, if you will. There's the 3 springs here, which is when you order this pipe, you'll have a little tool that helps you pull that out if you order from the right spot. And then it comes with this little F, backwards F design. What it's meant to do is just plug right in to the, this is what holds up the old one. And then there's another 2 right here. And that's what the old one plugs into. But because this is so lightweight, it doesn't need another bracket. It's just a pipe at this point, and it goes, here's the stock pipe, and then normally it comes here into the muffler, or whatever you want to call it, I guess. I don't know my terms right, but and then from there, oh, sorry for all the shakiness. From there, you then get into what would have been my normal stock pipe, but for all of those folks who are looking for that growl, the very first growl you can get is getting this pipe, and you can have this pipe and the stock, and it'll give you a decent growl. So this pipe is about 250 bucks. I think I got mine on sale for like 200 or something like that. And you can leave your stock tailpipe on, and you would still have that growl. Then if you wanted to push it a little bit further, I've got Two Brothers. I know I can never pronounce it, but I think it's called Akrapovic. Does a really good job of a similar type of growl. So I've got the Two Brothers Black Series, which is similar to what just about everybody else has. So nothing special here. When you get this pipe, it comes with this angle that matches what your normal stock would have. And then again, it just sits in here. You put 2 springs. You hook up this bracket. Oh, sorry. You get this bracket, and it hooks up on the back side, back here. This is kind of a pain in the butt to get off, so I had to remove my side saddlebag, which isn't too hard. I think nope, it's not unlocked, but I have the key up there. Really, there was just a couple of screws, and there's 3 screws and 2 pull tabs, right? And once you get those off, you just disconnect. There's wiring that'll be sitting right in here as you start sliding it out. There's gonna be 2 bars that are holding this in. You slide this out, and there'll be a little connector here. You just pop that off, and then this whole saddlebag comes off, which makes it easier. So if you're gonna do some pipe work where you want to remount it, and your tools can't get in here to, you don't have the right tools to get in here, it's easier to just remove this as well. Or while I'm down here, I'll talk about my lighting. So up here, remember I told you this was the switch that turns off all my extra lighting. And what I've done is on the other side, let me get up here. On this side, take off this service panel, and I'll walk around. Give me a second. So on this panel, what originally I received was, everybody's got, on the newer models, it has a wire down here already, and you can, my hand is in the way, but there's a cable on here that says customer accessory cable, I think, or something of the like. But you all know there's 3 of them on the bike. There's 1 here, 1 in the front, and then 1 underneath the seat. And so what I did is I realized that on this cable I'd base my entire system off of the custom accessory ports, whether it was up front, this one, or the one in the rear. So I tapped off of it, as you can see, my little T-taps here. Just keep in mind, as you run these wires, keep it away from anything that might need to get serviced. So, you know, I wouldn't want to tie it to anything that's like taped up or may have to get replaced. So I try to just do it to frame pieces. So keep that in mind as well. Additionally, what I did is I tapped this wire, this white wire, off of that, the same, so it's a little bit lower in there. And essentially that's gonna be the start of my, you know, anything I wanna hook up. I wanna use this wire and start tapping off of it. And I ran this from here to that side and a little bit underneath and through the bike. So basically I have a backbone, if you will, of accessory wire going for wherever I needed it. It's just kind of a good idea. Some people talk about their lights and getting into either like hyper flash or getting into a situation where they draw too much power, and you can't necessarily see it, but I don't feel like taking off all the panels just yet. But down in there, this actual block, and I'll post a link to it, but what you're seeing is that gray block down there is a regulator. So what it does is it takes normal DC power, and it converts it from anywhere from like 10 to 15 volts to a consistent voltage of your tuning. And I knew I was going to tap off of this in multiple points. So the first stop I had was to the regulator. Again, it's about a $20 or $30 part, but it keeps your power pure. And if you start pulling way too much off, then what you can do is take and either juice it up, or if there's something where it's too hot, you can juice it down, right? So dial it down. But that's also fixed in here. It's, again, I'm a zip tie guy, so it's properly zip tied out of the way. When this panel comes off, if somebody needed to get in here and do work, all of my wiring is out of the way. And then I come across to that switch over here. And then, like I said, that usually kills my accessory power if I needed to. So I knew what I wanted to do is be able to do any kind of lighting systems based off of this, which also will include how I did the fog light. So I'm gonna leave this panel off for right now, walk back around, and I'll take this one off. Sorry, I gotta make sure I keep things in frame. So a couple wires here, and there's more. It gets a little bit of a bird's nest when you take it off, but from right here it looks kind of junky, but it's all tied and nice and neat. I've labeled a lot of my wires, and then of course you see some of those connectors in there. I have some wires, and again I apologize because I'm being lazy and not taking off the side panel. But I have every one of those is a series of lights, and what I've done is I've run tap off from my filtered wire or power into each of these blocks, and then I've done what I needed to do throughout the rest of my lights. If you're afraid to take anything off, again, it's not hard to do. These things just pop off. Oh, it's hard. One hand. There we go. Just pop those. I got bugs in there. But underneath, you'll see there's your wire that you can tap off of. Sometimes they'll have these parts that you buy. They'll have it to where there's like a quick connect for this. You can unplug this. You plug, you know, the corresponding adapters, and then of course it gives you a wire that taps off of it. I didn't need to buy one just because I'm comfortable cutting into the wires. But if you're not comfortable, just buy the tap off. And essentially, yeah, it's hard to see, but there is a red wire. I'm trying to hold this phone. You see that red wire there? And I've done the same thing. So red for right, and then I've got blue for left. This red and blue wire is both my blinkers coming back into one of these blocks down here again. So you can tap off of it. So again, my lighting control panel is here. And again, I make it to where all this stuff can be pushed out of the way. They can get to what they have to. Nothing is secured to any of the parts that are critical here. All right, let me show you real quick the front. I did get from Lamonster Garage, I got their fog light system, which has the, of course, the middle fog light, and then of course the LED around it, which that is the blinker part. So my last bike in 2013 did have the multicolor, but this time I just kind of wanted to keep it simple and safe. And so I went with what's called a switchback light. And I can probably show you. And if you're looking at it, that's the light, right? So wherever you put this light, it's going to have a primarily white light until you turn, oh my gosh, what is this? Oh, dirt, okay, I need to wash my bike. Primarily white light, so with me having kind of the white theme going on my bike, it's gonna glow white, and that's a pretty powerful light. That's normally used in like headlights, and that's what I was looking for, something that glows immensely when turned on. And for me, if somebody were sitting right here driving, there's no indication, like if I was a car sitting right here, there's no indication at this site, right, that tells them I'm trying to turn. And so I wanted something that just at least showed that I was trying to turn. They do make the fender ones, which I did that with my old bike, and you could do that, but then you have to be somewhat up here. And at that point, we should be able to see each other, but if somebody was coming up on you, and they may miss your blinker back here, so if they're coming up on you, at this point I wanted them to see that. And so it's daylight right now, so I'm just going to turn on. And as you can see in daylight, there's enough indication. As you can see, I've had the ones up top that gives you a little bit more visual, and then here's the glow that's going for, I have it stuck underneath this bar, and there's another strip there. And then from the front, you still have all of your, so I still kept my, my blinkers for the light, and then of course the fog light that Lamonster sells comes with that LED ring, and it switches back as well. So when it's not flashing yellow, it switches back to white. Oh, and I switched out the LEDs here. So I didn't like that yellow type light that the bikes come with, and I switched this out. What you want to do is get a fanless, so one that says like fanless heatsink, and those are the best ones, so that way you're not worried about dissipating heat back and forth. It will throw the heat to the back of the heat sink, so it does get warm, but just get one that's made for your bike, but go with LEDs. This is kind of tricky to get to because you have to take off just about the entire plastics on the side, and then there's a couple of bolts in order to get your nose piece off too. So there's quite a bit of disassembly. So if you plan it correctly, if you want to do all your lighting at once and you're okay with the bike being down for like 48 hours and not being able to ride it, then it's a perfect time to just go ahead and take off all your panels, do your wiring correctly, and then you can put it all back together. All right, let's get this thing going here. My gosh, I can feel it like shaking everything else in this garage. Okay, I'm not gonna talk as much, but here you can see the glow that I was looking for. That's the LED is sitting on the underside. Let me see that. There's another LED light. I put one on each, one here, one on the back, one underneath. And I'll talk about that one in just a second. And then I've got at night, this thing really lights up because you have the LEDs that's on the fender, the fog lights, the lights that are basically inside the machine, and then the LED lights. One other thing I forgot that was pretty huge was the sway bar. That's what I put in last night. And I'll go through, I'll get up underneath here and show you what all I did. My wife just reminded me, she was like, hey, don't forget to tell them about that sway bar. So I'll get down up underneath here real quick and I'll walk you through what replacing the sway bar is. All right, I'm gonna try to show you what the sway bar is. So if you're not sure, if you're getting started here, this bar is the sway bar, and it connects, and I'm gonna apologize here, I'm trying to get up underneath. So it connects to this link, that you get a nice shiny aluminum link, and then of course that attaches to the frame up here. So what this will do is this goes and runs through this channel and goes to the other side and does the same thing. And so as you're turning this way, your vehicle's gonna want to feel like, as you turn this way, it's gonna wanna feel like it's lifting up, right? So if you take a hard turn going right, when you do that, it puts the pressure on that side of the bar and it's gonna lift that side. Well, when you have a thicker bar, a sturdier bar, it doesn't give it that push down here, lift up here feeling. It actually absorbs some of that pressure. So what ends up happening is that instead of this feeling, you get that feeling. And it's easily correctable when you just turn your handlebars a little bit more. So a little bit tougher on the bike handlebars makes it feel like you're cruising through a turn a lot faster. If you're gonna take that on and you need to mount, not mount, but you need to lift this bike up. I unfortunately have a light here, so I had to take this light off. But you're gonna mount your jack here. If depending on what jack you have, and I'll talk about mine in just a second, but you put your jack here, and you kind of have to play with the two parts, because the motorcycle lifts, it's usually two bars, and then that lifts you up. If you don't have one that's specifically designed for trikes or the Can-Am itself, and you just decide to get a motorcycle one, I recommend get the Pitbull. I didn't get the Pitbull, but I knew the Pitbull has the right height. And so what you do have to do in order to get the sway bar off is that bar doesn't flex, right? So it's not meant to flex. And so as you're, sorry for the shakiness, but as this bar, you disassemble it and you need to take it out, the bar, the length going across, right? You have to have enough clearance for it to go like this way in the channel and then turn it. So that's about 22 inches of bar. So this thing needs at least 18 to 20 inches up in the air. What we ended up having to do was like jack the bike up, set like jacks up underneath, lower my actual lift, put more 2x4s on it safely, make sure they're fastened to the lift, and then go back and lift it even higher. You only have to do it for just a temporary second, so make sure everything's disassembled, ready to go. And we had the bar hanging, and then as we lifted it up, it finally swung, and that way we could pull it out pretty quickly. This is the Black Widow lift that I bought. So I wanted something that had the pneumatic connection. You couldn't lift it with the foot crank. This is what lowers it as well if you decide to buy the Black Widow. I bought this one because you can hook it up to your air compressor and it, just as you go. And that way I could focus on less lifting, manual of what I was doing, and focusing on, did I have the right balance points of the bike? And because I naturally wanted this to be higher, I was okay with the bike kind of being at a lean. I did make sure I had enough security back behind that back tire. So it's not required that the whole bike come up off the ground. It's just required that you get the front half up. You have to have that 18 to 20 inches to get that sway bar. If you can, I did do a couple of modifications here for the helmet. So this is the Cardo Smart H system. It tucks up underneath into the lid, or excuse me, to the back of the helmet. And so if you're looking at it, it actually fits in the groove there. It's got big enough buttons so that way if I were wearing gloves, and it's enough of an indentation. But I bought this one, it's a little bit costlier, but it does allow you to say like Siri, or you could say, okay, Google. And that's what I really liked. I didn't necessarily need to be touching it here. There's a battery pack back here as well. That's what keeps it. And then of course you charge it in here. Inside there are, I can't really show you inside, but if you imagine inside the actual helmet, right here, there is a actual speaker that goes in back behind all the padding. And then in the front, you can't see it, but there's a microphone sitting right here that of course my wife and I can talk to each other while we're riding. I can listen to music. You can go from DMC mode to Bluetooth mode. So if some of you guys want to ride together and you got Bluetooth, I can join your group, or you can ride and join our group in the DMC mode, which is direct. And then I did modify the, of course, there's the cosmetic aspect. There's another one of those buttons I put in for the garage. So that opener right there, I put another one on the side of the helmet. So that when people give me the thumbs up when I'm riding around, I can kind of shine a laser at them. And I did buy the Can-Am backrest. That's the official one. The only thing I don't like about this one, so my wife does have back problems. And so what I wanted to do is make sure I could adjust the lumbar here with just a couple of knobs, and that she could do that while riding. And these knobs did that, so if she had gloves or something. So that's why I liked the Can-Am actual backrest. The only thing is that if I would have changed anything, I would have made it where this could actually either fold down or be taken off when she's not riding with me. Or I've tried to fold it down and does not fold down. It does lean forward quite a bit, but it does not fold down. So outside of that, let me know if you have any questions. I think I've covered just about everything I've done with the bike. Hopefully it helps.